welcome to A Feminine Moment. I'm Sherry Lynn, and I am joined, as always, with Dixie Andelin Forsyth.
Hi,
Author-
Sherry.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good. Dixie is the author of Fascinating Womanhood for the Timeless Woman, and she's also Helen B. Andelin's daughter, who wrote the
Mhm.
original Fascinating Womanhood. And we are so excited today to ask Dixie about a special topic. We've never talked about this before. We're going to talk a little bit about the difference between Dora and Agnes.
Yes, and for those who are not familiar, Agnes and Dora are fictitious characters in David Copperfield, which is written by Charles Dickens. It's considered classic literature.
Yeah, I'm so excited to hear about
Yeah,
them.
and I don't know whether he took those from people that he really knew in his life, but it would be common for an author to do that rather than just make them up. But Agnes, the reason it's such a good illustration is Agnes is, both of them are good people. They weren't like one is a good person, one of them is kind of a criminal type. They're both good people, but Agnes is a woman with a lot of character. He said he associated her whenever he saw a stained glass window, he thought of Agnes because she was really calm. She was a good listener. She was a great housekeeper, a good cook. She understood him. She was good at all the things that make men feel safe and want to be around.
Mm-hmm.
And then to contrast Dora, he knew them both, but he married Dora first. And when he talked about Dora, she was so feminine and had the way she moved and he said the way she pressed flowers to her cheek and how she got so excited over small things. And those things just enchanted him. And the reason he fell for her first is because he couldn't resist those feminine little ways that she had.
Mm-hmm.
On the downside of each of them, Dora was kind of immature. And you can have all those qualities of Dora and not be immature. But she wasn't, just because you're feminine doesn't mean you have to be a bad housekeeper. Because my mother talked about other characters from from literature that combine both. But the reason Dora and Agnes are so important in the book is because you can see the separate qualities of them. And if somebody wants to know how to be more like Dora, that's a really good question, because this is the thing that is attacked more than anything by the feminist agenda is femininity, because it's considered weak. And it doesn't have to be. In fact, it's actually strength. So it undermines us when people think it's a weakness. Dora wasn't a perfect example of it because she was personally immature, and she didn't know how to handle money. He bought her a cookbook to help her cook better, and she used it for her little dog to stand on. She didn't. But yet when she died, and then he later married Agnes, he would think about Dora and her darling little ways, and he would have almost a pain in his heart when he thought about her. She was so enchanting and so feminine, and she was sincere that way, and that she wasn't hard on him or anything like that, but she just wasn't very mature. So the way you can be more like Dora is in the way you dress, the way you move, the way you speak. And you're like, he talks about her dear little ways, and the way she got so excited about things and so hopeful about things, and she was very expressive, like an innocent child. And have you known people like that? I have known people like that.
Yes, of course. As you're talking, I'm going through my head of all these people.
Okay, I have a grandson who is so fun to give things to, because no matter what it is, even if it's a piece of gum, he gets so excited about everything. That quality of a child like that, where they get so excited about little things, is a quality that we can either reclaim or hang on to if we already have it, because it's important to keep it. It's kind of an appreciation and innocence that we can have or reclaim if we need to. And then the way we dress, and dressing feminine doesn't mean you have to wear lace and ruffles all the time. In fact, that doesn't even suit some women's personality. It suits mine, but it didn't suit my mother's. Her personal style was a little more classic, like Jackie Kennedy or Audrey Hepburn. Somebody that was that classic style, very feminine, but not a lot of, of and so, but you can dress like that, but emphasize the differences. That's what we're saying today with Timeless, and that's one of the reasons it's so important to read the new book, is because it is so much more comprehensive and explains things better and has more information in it. Just like we're talking about Dora, now that Timeless is written, I can say you don't have to wear the ruffles if it doesn't suit you, but on the other hand, pizza clothes don't work either. And
so sorry. So why someone asked this on our YouTube channel to talk about this. So why is this relevant to Fascinating Womanhood?
Because the feminist agenda has been around for so long now, more than my lifetime. It's been around for over 100 years. And that is teaching us to get away from our natural femininity, which includes the matter when we walk, we move. When I was a child, there used to still be charm schools around. I don't know of any now. I never hear of any. And so it's relevant because the femininity, the feminine movements, and the strength that we have as women, femininity is actually one of our great strengths. And when we abandon one of our core strengths, it weakens us. It weakens, we can't be great men. So when we adopt more their type mannerisms, that actually weakens us because it's not our natural power base. It's theirs. And so we're kind of a poor imitation. When we do when we concentrate on our own power base, which is our femininity, our charm, the way we look, the way we move, the way we speak to people, and all of those things, it includes actually both Agnes and Dora. We don't just say do one or the other. But more women have lost the Dora side, even than the Agnes side, which is a good person. And certainly we know that people could, as a rule, we could be people of better character too.
How would you label Dora and Agnes? If you had to give them kind of one headline, who is Dora? Dora is the this. Agnes is the this.
Well, in my mother's Fascinating Womanhood terms, it would be Dora is, Agnes is Angela, which is sort of angelic.
Okay.
She's a good person. She's a good housekeeper. She's very responsible. She's a good listener. And then Dora is so adorable, not just in the way she looks, but the way she acts and the way she gets so excited about things, and the way her hands move. Everything about her is so feminine. It's such a contrast to a masculine man. It's fascinating to him. He in the book, he said when he thought about her, he would have a feeling almost like pain, and he would bite the ring from his carpet bag or something. He'd just bite on it because just thinking about her. And his feelings towards her, even though she wasn't as mature of a person, it shows how powerful femininity is. Because he married her first, even though she wasn't the better person. She wasn't a bad person, but she was an immature person.
And it sounds like Dora has a lot of the qualities that we constantly hear in our group, on our Facebook group, that women want more lessons on. The childlikeness, or the girlishness, as you call it in Timeless. You just talked a little bit about how she was kind of charming, and how it sounds like those are the reasons why this woman in particular is asking to talk more about her.
Well, and you need to not only read the book, particularly Timeless, because it has so much more, but then taking a class is really important, and watching videos, because we're going to be doing things like, we need to do things like how to walk. My mother taught me how to sit, how to get up out of a chair, how to get into a car in the right way. There's really a lot of wrong ways that is not charming at all, and it isn't hard. And you might think, well, that's awfully fussy, but it becomes a part of you, the whole picture of you. Just like some people say, well, should I use Fascinating Womanhood with this? Someone said, I think, you should only use it around your husband. That is absolutely not true. It's you. It's you. If you're a charming woman, a feminine woman, you're not going to suddenly revert to some kind of butchy kind of a person when your husband's not around.
That sounds exhausting.
Well, not only exhausting, it's not genuine.
Yeah.
It's not really you. What you're doing is you're teaching yourself to be this ideal person. It's like saying, well, I'm honest around these people, but I'm not honest around these people. You
Yeah.
consider yourself, I am an honest person.
Yeah.
I am a considerate person. You're not just considerate with these people and forget these people. Because the consideration over here becomes contrived. It's not really real. It's just an act. And Fascinating Womanhood is not about acting. It's about becoming. And so if you are all alone in your house all day long, I think your husband's been gone recently, you still act feminine and you still get dressed and you don't look like a hobo, even if he's not there, because it's you. I just don't do that. So, and you still treat your children the way you would if he was around. And it's the way you are. Even if you know no one is going to see you, you're not going to the store, you're not going out at all, you still take care of yourself. And that's the superficial part of becoming. You still, if somebody calls you on the phone, you don't scream at anybody. It's not you.
And, I think these are all really good points. I think, so pointing this out, these two different characters out to women today that are quote unquote feminist, or women maybe that were raised that way and they kind of want to get away from it. What do you think is the most valuable thing for them to understand about these two characters, and how can they apply that to their everyday?
It's a lifelong study. Fascinating Womanhood is a lifelong thing. You never arrive. I've never arrived. I still make mistakes. I still work on things. But what you take away from that is that women have been grossly misunderstood. We've grossly misunderstood ourselves. We have been marginalized for so many years. And I'm sorry to say, even though I recently did in Timeless, I have a chapter on the positives that feminism has done for us and the negatives. Notice the negatives outweigh the positives by quite a bit. There's some positives, because we have to be fair. They've done some things, but the things that they have done that have hurt us have been really significant. And one of the worst is, other than abortion, which actually really hurts women, other than that is the teaching of women for now several generations that femininity is weak. It's our natural power base. And they're saying that makes us weak, so we need to get away from it. Women nowadays a lot of them do not even know what the word feminine means. Or they associate it with weakness. And it's not. And this is this huge job we have to try and reteach women that this is a great strength of ours. If we only understand it. And history is full of examples of it, but we fail to see it. That's what that is. And the classic example I use in Timeless it's a more modern day one, is Princess Diana. And she wasn't a perfect person. We all know that, but nobody is, which is fine. But she didn't commit. Typical power base for men is persuasion. They use money. They use brute force. There's several things they use that are very good at. Women can use those, but our greater strength is in our influence. And Princess Diana is a good example because she was a wealthy person because she was a lady of title, but she didn't have armies. She wasn't as powerful as her in-laws by any stretch. And when she died, she was such an issue for them that it almost toppled the monarchy. Now, she wasn't trying to do that, but it gives you an inkling of her influence and what that did. And none of it was with masculinity at all. And her feminine power is to today, and we're getting a little bit off into feminine power, continues through her sons. She's been gone 20 years, but her influence is still there. So when we talk about femininity, she was a very feminine woman. And she dressed feminine, she moved feminine. She was feminine naturally, like she loved children and working with these charities. And even when she was so brave to go to those landmine fields just before she died, that summer she died, she did something very dangerous. So she was also very brave to do that. And she was the first royal that I've heard of who didn't wear gloves and touched people. She touched sick people with her bare hands. We don't think anything of that today, but people didn't used to do that. So if we can get back to our natural femininity, and I'm sorry, but we're going to have to relearn it, because a lot of women have never even been taught this, what their natural power base is. And so Dora is part of that. Agnes is another part. It's the reason they're separated, so you can clearly see the differences. But the ideal woman is a combination of these two. And obviously, since character is part of that, that's a lifelong project. Yeah. You can learn how to sit, move, and act, and you can become the feminine part fairly quickly.
Yeah.
The other part, the angelic part, which involves, being a person of character that's really patient. Those sometimes take years. But the feminine part, you can learn fairly quickly, including girlishness, and that includes girlish displeasure. In Fascinating Womanhood, my mother called it anger, but I think it's more accurate to say displeasure, because when you're really angry, you don't really use that. And then there's girlish joy, girlish trust, and how to ask for things in a girlish way. And Dora was very good at all those things.
Yeah.
So it's the whole spectrum of girlishness that we.
Yeah. No, this is great.
As a sex, we've kind of lost this as a sex, and it's tragic because it has so much influence and power.
Yeah. I think this is really great, and I'm so glad that you were able to answer a lot of these questions. Thank you for clarifying. I hope a lot of the ladies that are watching and listening will pick up a copy of your book, because I think that's how you can really discover more and kind of peel the onion a little bit more on this topic, because we could probably go on for another hour.
Think about taking a class, because when you take a class, I'm going to have a recorded set of classes soon that you can purchase if you want, with a workbook and do home study. But when you can take a class with a teacher, you can ask questions.
Yeah.
Recorded one is great, but you can't ask any questions. But when you take a class from one of our certified trained teachers, you can ask questions. And the women always say that they learn so much more when they can talk.
Yeah, this is just like a little introduction or an appetizer for before the main course, before you can learn a little bit more. But definitely pick up Dixie's book, Fascinating Womanhood for the Timeless Woman. That's available on Amazon.
I'm sorry. And we will soon have classes available for that. It's just that we're trying to finish the workbook and teacher's guide for that. So
yeah, it'll be out soon. Thank you so much, Dixie, for all of your valuable information and tips and advice. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you like what you're watching, and definitely comment. We love questions. So if you have any questions about this, get a conversation going down below, and we would love to answer you. And we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Thank you.
Bye.